Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Fight Promoter University, and this is our ongoing show, Money Fights. Today, I want to talk a little bit about if I was to just be getting into the fight business, boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever. If I was going to get into the business, what would I do? You have three options. You can be a promoter, you can be a manager, you can be a matchmaker. Your choices are going to decide on your unique perspective, your unique situation. So, for example, if you have a full time job, if you don't have a whole lot of money to invest, and you just kind of want to get your feet wet, and you're not looking for all the upside in the world, you just kind of want to get involved in the sport, maybe work with some of the top promoters in your area or in the industry eventually, then I would say go matchmaker. The reason being is the vast majority of matchmakers are independent contractors. So some of the big companies will hire matchmakers full time. Those jobs are few and far between. So your best is to be a matchmaker slash booking agent. That way, there's almost zero upfront investment on your part. And really, it's just a lot of work to understand the fighters that are available in your area, making contacts with promoters, making contacts with managers, and being willing to jump into the negotiations for cards being put together, etc. Again, like I said, the upside is capped. So you're never going to get rich being a matchmaker, but you will be able to quickly integrate within the sport, the business side of the sport, as well as possibly rub elbows with some of the top promoters and companies in combat sports. A perfect example, we've had a couple students, some of which are featured in testimonials in our online program at fightpromoteruniversity.com. We've had several people come through the program that began as booking agents, matchmakers, even started working with Roy, our founder, in some instances, and then now past students have gone on to become the head matchmaker for Al Heyman's PBC Boxing, which is now on Fox and also does stuff with Showtime, etc. We've had matchmakers that have worked with Star Boxing, Top Rank, UFC. So there's an opportunity there for sure. Just keep in mind, just know what you're getting into with that, and it's just you're never going to be an entrepreneur where you're going to be getting rich off of that, like I said. The other avenue is manager. Now, a manager is a different story. There is the upside there. You can do extremely well and create a seven-figure agency if you rise to the top of the sport, as well as you can be a manager and be easily making six figures if you're just on the club show level. And the great thing about management is that if you love working with the fighters, like if dealing with the fighters and looking out for them, like if you ever want to be a sports agent, being a manager is the perfect role for you, because that's essentially what you are. When you first start out, you're obviously, again, this is from the perspective of just getting into the industry. When you first start out, you're going to be working with mostly young fighters or new to turning professional fighters. And so, it'll be a grind initially, of course, but the upfront investment is going to be very minimal. It's just going to be your time allocated to, building them up, signing fighters, negotiating purses, working on their social media presence, getting them to get their personality out in the media. So I have a great book for you that I will link in the comments below, which is all about being a sports agent. And I think there's a lot of topics there, which it talks mostly about football, but there's a lot of topics there that relate very well to the combat sports, boxing, MMA world. So you've got those two options, manager and matchmaker, are typically very low upfront investments. Now, the caveat with the management is that if you want to make a splash quick, like if you want to, within the first year, have a six-figure plus revenue model, and be traveling around the world for big cards and stuff, well, that's going to require that you sign some higher level fighters right out the gate, and then there will be an upfront investment. So it's all about where you're going to get started in the industry. Now, assuming you don't have a large amount of investment money to pull from to give these fighters signing bonuses, etc., then I would suggest start with the local scene and build from there. We go over in our course, and in future videos we talk about how what's the best way to scale it, what's the best way to look at it from a math perspective. Okay, how much, project out, forecast, how much are you expecting to make with a pro debut, or within their first 5 to 10 fights fighter? How much can you expect to bring into your agency? And then you multiply from there. Okay, so if one fighter is going to make you 5 to 10 grand in the first year, a new fighter, well, then how many fighters of that caliber or ilk will you need to reach your goal, your 6-figure goal, whatever your goal is? And then, of course, there's also the percentages to talk about, which is how, of the fighters you sign, how many are real? How many are going to go on and get big offers to join larger promotions like the UFC, for Bellator, and for MMA, and then for boxing, again, the Matchroom Sports, Top Ranks, etc. So, and once you figure out, if you have a good eye for talent, you can vastly improve upon the number of your fighters in your camp that actually convert and become high level pros. And then you're talking about, in any given night, you can make 10 grand as a manager and beyond just from one fight on some of those big cards. And that's at 10 grand's at like kind of the base level. You got some fighters making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, 10, 20% of that is significant. So, there's a lot that goes into that. However, if I'm just getting started, again, matchmaker, manager are the route you want to go until you have a little bit more scratch. Promoter is a different story. Promoter, you're going to need a little bit of money in the bank. Not all the money in the world, especially if you're doing club shows. However, I've gone over in previous videos. You can look back at those and see exactly how much a typical card costs, depending on where you are in the country, etc. But if it's me personally, and I'm doing my very first card, I would like to have at least 20,000 in the bank, give or take. The reason for that is you've got purses you've got to pay for, you've got venues, lighting, marketing. You got to hire a matchmaker if you're doing it the right way. You gotta book hotels. You need a bit of a investment pool to get from. So. Now, you will make that back and then some in your first fight or in your first card if you do it right and you follow our steps. Again, we've got tons of mentors in our program. Roy, especially, the co-founder of FPU, he's been doing this for over 35 years. So he knows a thing or two about the blueprint to success of how to turn those events into revenue generating, profit generating businesses for you. But I don't want to give the misconception that if you're just hungry enough and you've got $2,000 in the bank, you can put on a pro card. No, there's going to be a significant investment on your part, like I said. So 20,000 sounds about right, and 20, maybe 25, give or take. Now keep in mind, you're not gonna put on if your expenses are actually 30,000. You're going to sell enough tickets and sponsorships to, even if you don't make a lot of money, you're not going to lose, 20, 30 grand as long as you're, following our rules. But so that's why I'm not saying, like, if it costs you 30,000 to put on a show, you don't necessarily need 30,000 in the bank. But I always, in my mind, I like to have a safety net. So that's why I say 20 for a local club show. So this is from the perspective of brand new to the industry, just getting started, and you're looking for ways to start to grow your business from scratch. Those are your 3 options. In my opinion, if you're brand new and have never done any behind the scenes work in the business, and I would tend to lean towards the manager role just because it allows you to get your feet wet with negotiating and signing fighters. I think there's a big opportunity right now because a lot of fighters are anxious to get back in the ring. Maybe they're a little disappointed in their teams right now because they want to stay active and they haven't been able to. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's probably their perspective. So there's a good opportunity to build a roster of fighters for when all these events start opening up around the country again. They've already started. Like we already have shows running out in California. Roy has his fight cards. He's already scheduled 6 over the next year. And California's been really strict. So, if they're letting things go on, then we're in a good place moving forward. But a lot of these fighters haven't been as active as they wish they could have been. So that's why I say there's a big opportunity over these next few months to build up your roster and start making connections with these fighters to then put them in cards. And then guess who's the manager that helped turn around their career coming out of the pandemic? You. Now, that's also to say, I do think there's a great opportunity from the promoter angle as well, because think of how much the fans, once the vaccine's fully rolled out and everything, think of how much the fans are going to be dying to go to live sporting events. Of course, there's going to be NFL, NBA, MLB, etc., but a nice combat sport. There's going to be a lot of promoters that are not going to be able to compete in your city or town because they just haven't done one in the last year or 6 months. So I think it's a great opportunity, but I just want you to know what you're getting into. Again, don't try and go this alone. Don't try and do this from a lot of people try to do things with common sense, and in this case, you can't. You really need to learn what goes into it so that your very first show is profitable and sets you up for success down the road, as well as how to build a roster the right way. You don't want to be guaranteeing more than you can provide to fighters if you're going to be a manager. Anyway, I kind of went off on tangents because I really wanted to make sure you understood, brand new, what can you expect in those 3 different disciplines: promoter, manager, matchmaker. So yeah, it's really just about what your interest level is, what your investment capital is, and what exactly your long-term goals are. So just to recap: promoter, higher investment, higher upside, big opportunity in the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months. Management, low cost to entry, but still upside. It's just a longer road because you're signing fighters and building them up. And it allows for a higher margin of error. Whereas like a promoter, if you have a bad show, you're going to feel that in your wallet. Whereas a manager, worst case scenario, you probably lose a fighter, something like that. Matchmaker, smaller pool. There's not as many opportunities for a matchmaker in terms of there's only so many promoters doing shows right now. So there's that. However, the upfront investment as well as the risk is almost zero. So again, I hope that helps. Everyone's in different spots, and I just hope that we are able to give you a good perspective moving forward. So if you have any questions, feel free, put them in the comments. If you want us to touch on any in particular topics, put them down there. We really want to have the community provide their feedback so that we can help. We're here to help you. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.